We're gathered here today to discuss two books, Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren and Clary Fortune's Every Summer After. We're here to answer an important question. Is every summer after plagiarized? This has been a question that has raked Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit for years. So I'm here to show you a list of the similarities and differences that I've compiled to help you make your decision as to whether or not you think it's plagiarized. Now, just disclaimer, this is not an exhaustive list. I made a list of all the similarities that I noticed, but I'm sure that there are similarities that I didn't notice, and there's some things that you might be like, I don't know if that's counts as a similarity. That might just be a trope. So that's up for you to discuss. And then I made a very small list of differences just to also show that it's not like the book is an exact replica of the other. Let's start with the years that they were published because Love and Other Words came first. It was published in 2018 by Christina Lauren, and the main characters are Macy and Elliot. So that's a full 4 years before Clary Fortune released Every Summer After in 2022. Her main characters are Percy and Sam. Are you clocking the similarities between the female characters' names, Macy and Percy? Just off the bat, are you clocking that? Are you clocking that? I hope you are. Okay, so when making a list of the similarities between the books, I split the similarities into like different subcategories just so it would be easier for you guys to follow. And I'm stating now, before people are in the comments coming for me, I'm stating now that gender bent similarities count. Yes, they count. The first subcategory is overall world building. So, in terms of overall world building, both books are told in now versus then timelines. The main concept in both books is that childhood best friends to lovers break up just before university and then they meet again 10 plus years down the line to like rekindle their romance, and it's a second chance romance in both books. In Love and Other Words, Macy and Elliot meet again after 11 years. In Every Summer After, Percy and Sam meet again after 12 years. In both books, the main characters they meet because the girl's family buys a cottage or a weekend home in the small town where the boy lives, and the home is near a body of water. So like Macy swims in the river while Percy swims in the lake. So those are just, you know. And then in both books, the main characters, they're 13 when they meet, and the boy has an older brother who's 15. In Love and Other Words, the main male character, Elliot, he has other siblings apart from an elder brother. In Every Summer After, Sam only has that one big brother, Charlie. I mentioned swimming in the river or lake. In both books, the 13-year-old girl, when she's actually in her main home, away from the summer home, she swims on the school swim team. And then in both books, one of the reasons the girl's parents decides to buy a cottage or a weekend house is that the girl is having troubles with friends at school. So in Macy's case, it's because she lost her mom and she just had difficulty like relating to her friends after because she was like going through a lot and they still wanted to talk about boys, and she was like, this is just not where my head is at right now. In Percy's case, her friend group iced her out and she was kind of, yeah, she was being isolated in school. So talking about dead parents, and this is why I said gender bent still counts, because remember I said that in Macy's case she lost her mom. In Love and Other Words, well, in Every Summer After, Percy does not lose her mom, but Sam has lost his dad. So yeah, when both so in Love and Other Words, when Macy meets Elliot, she doesn't have a mom. In Every Summer After, when Percy meets Sam, Sam doesn't have a dad. In both books, like one of their first meetings, they talk about like it being difficult to relate other people because people act weird when they mention that they have a dead parent. And then, okay, I don't think I said this, but major spoiler alerts, because since I'm talking about the similarities between these books, I'm going to just be dropping spoilers all throughout. And this is my first major spoiler. So in both books, whoever doesn't have a parent at the beginning of the story, that's a massive bumblebee. Oh my god, I hope it doesn't come over here. And okay, it's going away. Okay, so in both books, whoever doesn't have a parent loses the other parent and becomes an orphan by the end of the story. I know that like it's nature and nature's beautiful, but nature has so many bugs. Oh my god. Like I'm genuinely always looking and seeing just one big giant bug coming near me. And it's bees, and bees are so big and scary. Oh my god. That giant bumblebee is bad. It's bad. It's coming closer. It's coming closer. Am I getting up? Oh my god. I don't know if you saw it, but it's like a monster of a bumblebee. Holy crap. It's so big. Okay, so moving on to personalities and careers. Again, gender bent still counts. In both books, as adults, the couple's careers, it's like there's one doctor and one writer. In Love and Other Words, Macy is a doctor, Elliot is a writer, he writes novels. In Every Summer After, Sam is a doctor and Percy is a writer, but she's like writing for a magazine and she really wants to become a novelist and write stories. In both books, the boy is a genius. Yeah, he's super gifted. In Love and Other Words, though, Elliot is more of a genius. He takes like advanced classes in Every Summer After. Sam is a genius, but he just like constantly tops his class and stuff. He doesn't take like advanced classes. And I think he's like valedictorian because he's super smart and has like the highest grade in school. Okay, and this similarity I'm about to say, people might disagree as to whether or not it's a similarity between both books or it's just like a similarity in every book story. So, in Love and Other Words, Macy has a best friend, Sabrina, that's in like a loving, healthy relationship, and like Sabrina disapproves of her approach to dating and her current relationship because like she just dates people she's not in love with because she doesn't want like a deep emotional connection. Sabrina is married and has a baby in Love and Other Words. In Every Summer After, Percy's girl best friend is Chantel. She's engaged, but yeah, she doesn't like Percy's approach to dating because Percy like is super casual and doesn't get emotionally attached to people because she doesn't want to experience heartbreak. Again, you see why I think it's a similarity. Like, and also like Chantel doesn't like any of the guys Percy has dated because Percy doesn't really love them, and also they don't seem to be that in love with Percy, which is again something that Sabrina tells Macy. So like it's super hard to even like keep the books apart in my head because like okay, okay. Now moving on to specific scenes and moments. In both books, they both have a scene where the girl's family comes over to the boy's family's home for Thanksgiving. This is one similarity I think you can't even explain away as like, oh, it's a trope thing. Because in both books, in the now, the boy is currently dating somebody, and the day he sees his childhood best friend that he hasn't seen in like 10 plus years, he breaks up with his current girlfriend because he knows he's still in love with the childhood best friend. The same day in both books. Okay. Okay, just okay. Now, this is a similarity in the past chapters where you know how I said that the boy and the girl are both 13 when they first met and that the boy has an older brother in both books that's 15 when they first met. Well, the 15-year-old boy is always perpetually shirtless. That's just one of his personality traits in both books. And he perpetually teases the boy that he and the girl are dating even when they're not all throughout their teenage years. that's just a similarity that is present in the personality of the older brothers in both books. Another similarity that has my eyebrow raised, like really, is that in the Den chapters in both books, they both have a conversation about periods because the girl just started her period. In Love and Other Words, Elliot finds Macy crying and she tells him that she just started her period. In Every Summer After, Sam asks Percy if she started her period. Another similarity is that because the girl doesn't live there, they're not like around each other year round, right? So obviously she and the guy aren't around each other year round. Every time Macy came back to the cottage, she and Elliot would do this thing where they would be like, "Tell me your updates, like tell me your updates to keep me like up to date with your life," right? And they specifically call it updates or check-ins, right? Percy and Sam have this thing where they say, "What are your three updates?" every time they meet. And you might say like, "Oh yeah, people ask each other like, what are your updates when they meet each other, right?" But do they all specifically use the word updates? Don't they say stuff like, "Oh, what's up with you? What's new?" Like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that both books had a thing where they would meet and they'd be like, "Specifically, tell me your updates." I was like, hmm, hmm. And then they both have this thing where they have email chains in the book also. Like they have email chains, but like parts of the book is written as like their email chains where they would like keep in touch when the girl is in her real life back in the big city. Now this is a similarity, but I'm not sure that it's not just because of like the time period like they were in. Like they would communicate by emails maybe back in that time, but I also don't know if it's just a product of their time period because Percy and Sam were emailing a lot, sure, but then they were also texting a lot too, so you're like, and their emailing and texting time overlap, so you're like, huh, why are they emailing too then? Maybe it's just because it had to be similar. I don't know. This is just providing you I'm not gonna lie, I am a bit biased. I think you know which way I'm leaning to in the question of whether or not it's plagiarized, but I am still just trying to provide you with like the notes for you to make your own decision. Okay, and then this is something that pissed me off in both books, that like it's part of the thing that drives the plot, but like when they meet in the future in both books, the guy's like, "Can you tell me like what happened? Can you tell me what went wrong? Are you ready to talk about it?" And in both books, the girl's like, "I'm not yet ready to talk about it. Let's talk about it at some point in the future." And I'm genuinely just like, if you ghost me, because in both books the girl is the one that cuts off the guy and kind of ghosts him for like over a decade. And for me, from the guy's perspective, I'm like, if I loved you and if you were such a huge part of my life for 10 years and you disappeared on me cold turkey for 10 years, and when we meet again, I'm like, what happened? And you're like, I'm not yet ready to talk about it. Let's talk about it a month from now. I would be like, no, no, this is super important. Can you please tell me what happened? But yeah, that was me going on a little rant. But yeah. Oh, and then in the past, in the Den chapters in both books, the girls ask the guy like, "Who have you been kissing when I'm not around?" They both, and it's not like an accusatory question in either book. It's just like the girl is starting to get jealous. She's starting to get possessive of her best friend, and she's like, "Are you kissing other people?" Yeah. And then this is something that happened in both books also. In the past, in the Den chapters, like I guess when they were still teenagers but getting older, they both kissed, and then they they just didn't talk about it for a while because they were like, we're best friends, and I don't want to ruin our best friendship by like trying to complicate it with a relationship. Okay, and then this is something that also happens in the past. Both couples were like, we like each other, but since you mean everything to me, let's be careful and like take it slow so that we don't ruin our friendship. So even though they like each other and even though they've kissed, they both choose not to start dating early on in their teen years so that they can try to preserve their best friendship. Okay, so now the next subcategory of similarities are things that I feel are similar, but you might disagree. So in Love and Other Words, Elliot and Macy are big into books. In Every Summer After, Sam and Percy are big into horror movies. I mean, they are also into books, but they're bigger into horror movies, right? And in this case, I do think it's a similarity because books and movies are practically interchangeable. Like they're just like pieces of media, and they both serve the same narrative device in the story, which is just that these two are like super big into this specific form of media and they bond about it because nobody else in like the small town is interested in it or like cares too much about it. So it's just their team, it's just their thing, and it kind of makes their little world for them. So yeah, I'm sorry I'm twitching, but there are like so many bugs flying around my ear. Another thing that I think is similar is that in the present and the now, um there's a big like family event happening that causes the girl to have to go back to the small town. So after like she no longer goes to the cottage and hasn't been in the small town for a decade. And so in Love and Other Words, it's a wedding. In Every Summer After, it's a funeral. And at the big family event, she sits with the boy's family in both books, and they're like, you're like family to us. You've always been like family to us. For the next one, even though this one is kind of hyper specific and a little nitpicky, I feel like because of the context in which it is used, it's still similar. And that similarity is the use of the word every. I'm going to like put a screenshot of where they use it in both books just so you see why I think it's similar. But in Love and Other Words, Macy calls Elliot her every friend. And then in Every Summer After, I think Sam calls Percy his everything, or Percy calls Sam her everything. And in both concepts, they're just trying to explain that like their friendship goes beyond more than just simple friendship. Like it's kind of every aspect of their world and their existence. And I'm like, you're using the same word to explain the same concept, even though it's not the exact same word, because every friend isn't the same as everything. I still think it serves the same purpose and it's like the same narrative device. So I'm like, that is such a similarity. Okay, and then the last subcategory is the climax. In terms of the climax, um, the boy and the girl, like when they're 17, 18ish, they start dating, and then it's like the summer before university for them, and the boy proposes in both books. And then the big bad thing that breaks them up in both books is that the girl sees slash hears the boy drunk at a party with another girl. So in Love and Other Words, Macy gets a message from Elliot, and so she drives back to the small town and she sees him drunk at a party with another girl, and so she's like, yeah, I'm out. And then in Every Summer After, the big bad thing is that Percy gets a message, like an email from Sam, and it's like a really, really bad email. He's kind of like, we should take a break, or like we should reduce how much we talk to each other. So she calls his phone to like try to get in touch with him, but he's drunk at a party, and a girl picks up his phone call and she's like, what is happening? What is happening here? And so yeah, she has kind of a bad reaction to that. And then yeah, what breaks them up is, in both books, what breaks them up is cheating. So I am gonna say that's a similarity, but and this is one of the first major differences I would like to explain. In Love and Other Words, Sam cheats on Percy. Sorry, in Love and Other Words, Elliot cheats on Macy, but he doesn't intend to. He's drunk at a party and he mistakes another girl for Macy. This is not me like trying to explain cheating or anything or like trying to defend him. This is just like what is explained. This is what is told to us. In Every Summer After, Percy cheats on Sam, but hers is intentional. She hears his she gets his really annoying email. She hears him drunk at a party. She hears a girl pick up his phone. She's really upset, and his big brother is around to cheer her up, and those two do the dance with no pants. So yeah, so it's still the big cheating trope, but the situation around their cheating is different. Another difference is that the reason Macy breaks up with Elliot isn't just the cheating. It's that because he cheated, she was really distraught and she went to her cottage and she was crying there. But she forgot to call her dad to kind of be like, hey, dad, I got to the cottage safely. So her dad drove over to come and pick her up and he caught her crying. So he put her in a car, and as he was driving back to their house in the big city, he got in a car accident and lost his life. So her like for Macy, it was the cheating plus the loss of her dad that made her kind of ghost Sam. In Every Summer After, it's just the cheating, but she like Percy feels really bad about getting with Charlie, so she ghosts Sam. Okay, so again, talking about the major differences, I've already explained like the major climax. It is about cheating, but with Macy, it's cheating plus loss of dad. With Percy, it's cheating with boyfriend's brother. And then one of the differences in Every Summer After is that there are way more side characters in the sense that Percy has a best friend that is her name is Delilah and she comes to the cottage. Percy has a boyfriend that she dates. His name is Mason. He's like 18. Like she's sorry, little Mason tangent because I found that so weird. Like Percy was 15 when she went to her boyfriend's 18th birthday party. And I'm like, why are you 18 dating a 15-year-old? And why is nobody having more of a bigger problem with this? And then it's so strange because he's like in first year of university and he comes down to the cottage to date his like 16-year-old girlfriend. And you're like, bro, go, what are you doing? And then also like Percy's parents kind of treat her and her friend group like they're adults. Like they leave them to the cottage. They leave Percy's friend group. So that's Percy, her best friend Delilah, Delilah's boyfriend Patel, and Percy's 18-year-old boyfriend Mason. They leave them to be alone in the cottage while they go to a different like province in Canada. And you're like, and this is like not accidental. This is a planned trip. And I'm like, why like who wants their 16-year-old to be alone in a house with their boyfriends? Like why? I was like, huh, what is this? What are we doing here? What? But tangent over. So yeah, so those are some of the differences. And then even though I said that Macy and Percy swim, they both do swim, but swimming is a bigger part of Percy's story. I think she's the one that lives near the lake. And so yeah, she swims the lake. Like it's a she does like a summit challenge where she swims across the lake, and like it's just one of like a part. It's one of the key parts of her story. So yeah, there are some differences there. But yeah, that's my list of similarities and differences. Okay, so I have not pretended to be unbiased in this. I think everybody's pretty clear about what I think, which is that even if it's not plagiarized, I do think Clary Fortune overly borrowed from Love and Other Words. I think the similarities aren't just major plot points, even small things the the sport the character plays at school, or like conversations they have, or settings, or like careers. It's just too similar for me to be like, oh, this is not copied. But I saw that on Reddit when I was like compiling like my list of similarities and differences. Some of the defenses I saw was that romance is a very trope heavy genre, so it's very popular and common for books to be similar. And I do agree with that, but I do think that yes, romance is formulaic, it's very trope heavy, but it's not very common that you see two books that are so identical that you kind of have to take a step back and be like, is this the same book? Am I reading the same book? Because here's why I think, like, yes, best friends to lovers is not a new concept. Yes, second chance romance is not a new concept. Yes, summer romances are is not a new concept, but the details about the characters are not normally the same. You know what I mean? Like, yes, the tropes might be there and be the same, but the differences are not normally the same. In that, if she wanted to write a summer romance where it's second chance best friends to lovers, why isn't it that Percy's family used to visit a farm every summer and she fell in love with the son of the family that owns the farm? And then, like, the rest of the story could have been similar. And rather than Percy doing swimming like Macy, she could have done like gymnastics. You know what I mean? Stuff where, and like, rather than Percy being a writer and Sam being a doctor, why couldn't Percy be a teacher and Sam be a lawyer? You know what I mean? Like, there could still be that same very tropey, very formulaic structure that we all love in romance without it being so heavily similar to Christina Lauren's work. But again, that being said, and that's why I made a list of the differences, it is not an identical replica. So I guess my question to you then, after stating my biases, after presenting you with my list of similarities and differences, what do you think? Do you think Claire Fortune's work plagiarized Christina Lauren's? Do you think it's simply just borrowed ideas from Christina Lauren's? Or do you think, like, there are similarities, but that should be accepted because romance is a very trope heavy and formulaic genre? Or do you just think that they're two completely different books and you don't know what all the fuss and hubbub is about? Please let me know in the comments. That is my video for now. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go because the bugs are loud and kind of scaring me. Bye bye.